Guys, welcome back to another episode, a new podcast, a new moment. And with me, I have the same co host. It's not a new co host, although sometimes I do think of getting a new No, I'm just kidding. Christina Tindale, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Amir. How are you?
Yeah, it's good, good.
Good.
We got back into the swing of recording new podcasts, and we did one last week, which had some good reviews. And when I say good reviews, people liked it. I guess that's the feedback I got. So we're going to do another episode today. So I'll throw it over to you. What where are you leading us today? What are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. And we gave a little teaser in the last episode about this that we were going to talk about the program TLC, the training,
So we're going to stick to
leadership, and
that.
coaching. Yes, yeah. Well, I know we like to sometimes switch things up in the moment, but no, I'm really excited about this topic. And I actually have something I want to play for you first. I'm going to play it through the speaker here. So give me one sec.
I'm just having a moment of realizing that, you know what? Maybe it is time for me to put together that training program, to teach people how to become an intuitive coach.
That was from March of 2023. We're in the middle of recording a podcast called Find Your Voice, where you talked about, speaking, and it was an amazing episode. But in the middle of it, you were just like, I think it's time.
Yeah.
Literally within a few months, you were starting the first TLC program where you opened up a training program that was normally only in-house with your in-house facilitators that was now available to the public.
Yeah.
And you were training coaches and leaders. And here we are now, a little more than 2 years later, and you've gone through, what is it now, 3 cohorts of the program. You've done a retreat.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I felt like I wanted to share that special moment, because it's really like seeing your process in action of like when you feel to do something, you followed through on it, and then look at where it is today, which I want to hear more about as well.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I do remember that moment, and you're right. It was a few months later, but to be honest, I've felt to do a coaching program to teach people how to do what I do for way longer than that time. I've always felt it because, and the reason I've always felt it is because here I am coaching and training people to live this stuff, not just to know this stuff, to take the connection and the realization of who they are, the possibilities that they feel, to do what they love and bring it into their everyday life. So and often I've looked back at myself and gone, how did I get to this point where I am living this? What I'm teaching, I'm walking. It's something that I walk my talk, and I am living it. I can put hand on heart and say this is what I live, and in fact, what started me coaching or speaking was I wanted to uh, live this, because you go to so many seminars. Well, I did anyway, and you read so many books, and you get inspired, and then you can't live it in your everyday life, and it's always something you're working towards. And so that's what inspired me to start. Is because I want to know I can live it, and more importantly, I want to know I can teach and share this with other people who also can live it. That's what was important for me. So many years ago, I looked back at myself and I thought, well, what have I done to be able to live this? And it was really interesting. It fell under the learn, do, and teach principle, because I learned this, and there was somebody who passed on this wisdom to myself, and it was my mother who initiated it for me, and of course there was so much more work that I had to do. After my mother initiated it, I had to then go and do it and apply it. And it's in the application that you really drop in much deeper and you find a new depth of possibilities. And then it's through articulating that and teaching it. That's what took me to a newfound level that I hadn't found before. It's so I've randomly, if I can call it that, magically randomly found this formula. I heard of the learn. If you want to really master anything, you got to learn it. Then you got to do it. And for me, doing it is applying it. And then you got to teach it. Teaching it is expressing it, sharing it, coaching it, whatever it is. All right. So I always knew that principle, but I didn't make the decision to do that. I found myself doing that. I never decided to become a speaker or a coach. It wasn't like the dream to become a speaker and coach, but I found myself when I was learning all this stuff, and then applying it. I just would draw people to me who would ask me questions, and before I knew, I'm like, are we having a coaching relationship here? Are we having a, and I realized I was a coach. And before I knew it, I was on stage speaking. And I'm like, did I become a speaker here? And before I knew, I was traveling to the US and I was there once a month for 2 years straight. Am I an international speaker now? Like these are things that just happened.
Mhm.
But when I reflected and looked back at myself, I realized that that's what I did. I learned, I did or applied, and then I taught it. And then I thought to myself, wouldn't it be awesome if I could create an experience when I'm coaching all these different clients from all likes of world, all walks of life, I should say, all around the world? Wouldn't it be awesome if I could give them the opportunity? And some of them, it's not really important if they actually become a coach or not. It's just it's going through that process of coaching and sharing and helping, passing it on to someone else, that you find something deeper within yourself. Yeah, which is really a deeper, a more infinite version of yourself, a more complete version of yourself. So I thought that many years ago, actually, Chrissy, and but I never took action or applied or followed that feeling, if you like, because I thought to myself, well, I can't teach someone else to, become an intuitive coach, a mindset coach. I can't really teach that. And the reason I thought I couldn't teach it is because I didn't learn it. I, I
Mm.
you know, I just did it. Many people have heard the first time I actually spoke, a name of a program came to me. I didn't then go and even design that program, because the next answer that came to me was the rest of the content will come to you when you get up on stage. So I would create the experience of getting up on stage and saying good morning and letting the information, the content arise and to be expressed. So I thought to myself, the reason I can't do this is because I didn't learn it. I just found myself doing it. And here I am. I'm doing it. I think I'm doing it in my lunchbox in a masterful way. I have mastered it for myself. I can just say that, not comparing myself to all the amazing speakers out there. It's just for myself. I have mastered it. And but then I had this thought that came to me at some stage. I remember when I first started speaking, I was delivering the WTF, the Wisdom, Truth, and Freedom Experience, and I realized that this is a really profound program and it's too big for people to digest. I need like an introduction program, something like a small stepping stone, something that's smaller or shorter in length, and it's not as deep. So I came up with this product called the Intuitive Warrior. Chris, you would remember that product. And I was delivering that product between Australia and America mainly. And the Intuitive Warrior is all about how to use your own intuition. So
Mm.
here I am now teaching people how to become an intuitive coach, but back then I was actually teaching people how to use intuition. But I had the same blockages when I felt to present the Intuitive Warrior. The same blockages, which was, well, how can I teach someone to use their intuition? Like I do it, and it's like using your intuition is like turning the light on. when you come home, you switch the light on the wall on. You don't know how it works. You just know it works and you use it. So I've always been intuitive. Even before I started coaching and sharing this stuff, like one of my companies that I ran, I was a CEO, and like everybody in that organization knew me as the intuitive leader, because when we have these meetings, I would have these intuitive insights. This is the next marketing we should do. This is the next product we should do, and the things would come to me. So, but I thought to myself, I know how to use it. I don't know how it works, you know. And I thought, I can't teach somebody how to use their intuition that way. And then what came to me is get up on stage and speak intuitively.
Mm.
No plan. You've done that before, Amir. No plan, no research, just show up on stage empty and allow yourself to connect and speak intuitively. So be the example. If you want people to feel your intuition or feel that space that you're coming from, you need to come from that space. You can't get up on stage and talk about it and teach it. You need to become it. That was the instruction I got. So I never forget, never forget. I get goosebumps just even going to that moment. I've still got that product. The very first Intuitive Warrior we did, I've still got it in DVD format. And I got up on stage with just, good morning. Welcome, everyone. Where are you guys from? Oh, you flew in from Brisbane. Oh, you're from Sydney. Amazing. And just starting with just little, what do you call those?
Pleasantries.
Pleasantries. That's a word. Thank you. That's right. So I just started with pleasantries, and before I knew it, bang, dropped in.
Mm.
It's a different Zoghi then. It's not the same. It's like when I dropped in, I don't know where it comes from, but it was a really powerful product. In fact, I'd love to give that away. It just popped in for me right now. I was like, well, why don't we, give that away? So if anyone is interested in receiving that, just email the team at contact@amirzoghi.com, and I'm sure we can put that DVD online so you can watch it online. So anyway, that's how I realized. I was like, so I had that reference point about intuition. So when I finally was like, yeah, but I can't teach someone how to become an intuitive coach. There was what dropped in, and I think it just dropped in when you and I were having a conversation. I don't know what we were conversing about, but obviously, it dropped in that moment with you live on a podcast recording. And I just was like, I can do it. And you know what? I think I'm going to start a training program teaching people how to become a coach. And that's how my whole life is. And that's how my businesses have worked for me. I don't necessarily have a plan, but I have a feeling. And when I can link to the feeling, like, I don't know, it's just when you get the perfect moment and that feeling kind of drops in a little bit deeper.
Mm.
That's how, that was that moment that you just played back. It was just,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And did you say that was March?
March of 2023 is
And
when
I
that.
believe in July,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember, because March, and then I went to LA in June. I was running the Limitless or the WTF programs in LA, and that month after the following month in July, we kicked off our first. I called it TLC, and for those who know, I do love my acronyms. I have the WTF, Wisdom, Truth, Freedom, Experience. I have the OMG, Oneness Mentoring Group. I have the TLC. That's all I've got. TLC stands for Training, Leadership, and Coaching. And like I said to you last week, the reason it's called TLC, of course, TLC is really tender love and care. And that's what people are doing. They're giving people, the people that I train, giving them the opportunity to give others the opportunity to receive some tender love and care. And sometimes the tender love, that sounds woo-woo, but there's more to that. That's really powerful process. But sometimes tender love and care is just taking them away from the busy cycles of life. all the doing, you know. Um, I have a mantra that I teach people where I say there's nowhere to be, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to accomplish, and there's nothing to figure out. When you actually say that to yourself, not as an affirmation, but as a realization, and I like to call it as a mantra, and that's the difference between a mantra and affirmation. A mantra is you say something and you realize it's true, where an affirmation, you're saying something that you want to be true, you're hoping to be true, that you're attempting to make true. It's kind of like the fake it till you make it kind of scenario with an affirmation. But a mantra is you're saying something that is true, and the only way it's true is because you actually sit there and you go, right now, there's nowhere to be. And in this moment now, there's nowhere to be. And then you're like, yeah, I realize that. You acknowledge it and you realize the realization is the dropping in. So you say there's nowhere to be, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to accomplish, there's nothing to figure out. Right there, you're in a TLC moment, a tender loving care moment, because you've disconnected from the matrix, you've unplugged. And in those moments is where you get those experiences where you have happiness or joy, whichever word you want to use, for no reason. Nothing's making you happy. It's not because you have the perfect relationship. It's not because you got a pay rise. It's not because you can see light at the end of the tunnel. It's just because there's nothing because after because. But, there's in those moments is when I've actually downloaded some of the biggest realizations, deepen my connection with myself. In fact, everything I've got hundreds, if not thousands. I've been doing this for a long time, Christina, 20 years or so. I've got probably thousands of hours of content that I've recorded since the first moment I started back in the day when it was just, I think it was called GoToWebinar. It wasn't in Zoom. There was no Zoom back
Oh
then.
yeah.
GoToWebinar, and I would be running these webinars, you know.
Mhm.
And anyway, I've got thousands of hours of content of which you've absorbed so much of, right?
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, majority of that stuff has come to me because I sat and I pondered. Often I would sit and ponder before I would get up on stage, and after and other times I would sit and ponder after I got off on stage. So the next day, and I would sit and reflect on how I feel about what I've just shared, and I feel like, anyway. Point I'm making, I'm going off track, is I download that stuff. It all comes to me, and then I'm get up and I'm speaking about it and I'm sharing it.
Mm.
So that's the story of how TLC was born. And so the whole point of TLC, training, leadership, and coaching, is because the program to me is not about only becoming a coach. And again, for those who ever think to themselves, I want to become a coach, or I don't really want to become a coach, it's really not about becoming a coach. It's really about taking yourself much deeper through the application of coaching. So really, at the end of the day, it's about you. Although you're practicing and you're giving and helping others and to find themselves or to self empower and to change their mindsets and etc. But at the end of the day, it's about you. I know what I do with other people. At the end of the day, it's got nothing to do with the other people. It's got to do with me first. And when I do what I feel to do first for me, that's when I actually create the biggest impact in other people's lives. I always say, when you do what's true for you, you allow those around you to experience what's true for them. But it's none of your business what's true for them. But you will impact others. Some people will like what you say. Some people will dislike what you say. None of your business. If you like it, if they like it, it's got to do with them. If they dislike it, it's got to do with them. So when you're doing what's true for you, you allow those to experience what's true for them. But when you're doing something in order to please others or to accept others, you're never doing what's true for you.
Mm.
You know. So anyway, my point I'm making here, I'd like to get off track, don't I? My point I'm making is that TLC, training, leadership, and coaching, is because I believe that for anyone to become a good coach, they have to be a good leader.
Mm.
and vice versa for anyone to become a good leader, whether you're a, you're a coach of a sporting team, or you're a CEO of a company, or you're a mother or father of a family in raising children, etc. Whatever leadership position you're in, you got to be a good coach. You need to know how to inspire people. You need to know how to connect people. You need to know how to hold space for people. So, that's why it's called TLC, because I'm actually teaching leadership skills as well as coaching skills. Because if for you to be a good coach, you got to be a good leader. And for you to be a good leader, you better be a good coach.
Mm. Yeah, so much in what you just said, but I loved what you were saying about like unplugging, and that you gave the mantra as an example, but like what came to me was it's like this really safe space that it creates when you are learning to become a coach, but it's like for you to be able to drop into that space that you're talking about yourself, and then you can then share and hold that space with someone else. And I feel like we, I mean, in the most recent cohort, it was like we really even just like started with that mantra, like just uh really being with that and practicing that and being in that space. And it just felt like it set up so much of the journey to start with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing what happens when you have the ability to unplug,
Mm-hmm.
um, and be in the moment. And if you're able to stay in the moment, then you can actually stay unplugged. And that's when we experience being in a flow state. I mentioned that a lot of the times, or a lot of the things that came to me was from me sitting down. I call it pondering.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down and I pondered, and I am unplug from the everyday thinking, and I noticed different creative thoughts will come in, and ideas and solutions, and what I really want to do, it comes in, not what I think I should do, what someone else thinks I should do, and all those things actually begin to drop in when you have the ability to actually stay in the moment or stay unplugged, and then you move from that place, whether that moving is an action you're taking, is something you're pursuing, an expression,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that you're giving, like the action that you take from the moment. If you actually move from that moment and you stay unplugged, that's when we experience ourselves being in a flow state. So that's someone who's unplugged from the internal everyday thinking. You
Mm-hmm.
know, perfect example I like to give is if anyone's ever, if anyone's a runner, they will relate to this. There was a moment where I was running quite a lot. It was my little passion. I was doing the soft sand running at Bondi Beach, which is much tougher than, running on the promenade and on your shoes. So, and I just remember, I would run about 4 laps of Bondi Beach, which is about 4 kilometers. Each lap in Bondi Beach is about a kilometer. And so I would run, and there's a point where you get into a flow state. And once you get into that flow state, your legs suddenly feel like they're gliding. You're kind of gliding, even though, I wasn't a very fast runner, but I started to glide across the sand. Felt like I had a spring in my step. I felt like my legs were light, and my breathing wasn't like, there was a flow in my breathing. And that's what we know as the flow state. Now, it was always difficult to determine how I got into that flow state, but it was very easy to determine how I got out of the flow state. And anytime I'm running and I'm in the flow state, if I ever started to think, how many laps have I done? In other words, I'm thinking about the past, right? Or how many more laps do I still need to do? Now I'm thinking about the future. Boom. The legs
Mm-hmm.
became concrete. It felt like, I was running in quicksand suddenly. My
Mm-hmm.
breath was like, you know, out of breath, out of rhythm, and everything was difficult. And the head noise started to come back in. Why am I even doing this? Do I need to do this? I could just stop right now. Why don't I just stop? Like, who cares? Not a big deal. But all that came in. right? So, it was more difficult to kind of really pinpoint how I found the flow. Although now I teach that to people now, and I have pinpointed it. But back then, I wasn't able to pinpoint how I found the flow, but I was definitely able to pinpoint how I
Mm.
came out of it, and it was just simply thinking about the past or the future, right? So that's what plugs you back into the matrix, plugs you back into the everyday thoughts start racing through your mind. Um,
Mm.
sometimes that happens to people, when they get up in the middle of the night. For some reason, when people get into the middle of the like when they get up in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 a.m., some people start to think. They just plug straight back in and start to think about all the past or the future or how I'm going to do this, and then they can't fall back to sleep. All right.
Mm.
Um, I don't know why I said that, but that just kind of just dropped in. And I just find that I speak to some clients who have difficulty sleeping. If I've ever found myself doing that, I just take one deep breath, which again, I teach I teach people how to do breath work, but very different to,
Mm.
for me, my breath work is about one breath. It's about one single breath. And we can do it together right now.
Mm.
It's just one breath. You know, every moment that that flow state, or that the state of reassurance or certainty, is always one breath away. It's not
Mm.
5 breaths. It's one breath. Um, the moment to find yourself back in the moment, it's only one moment away. It's not like, well, I need to be back in the moment. Well, the moment you realize that you are not in the moment, that right there implies that you have the choice to choose back to be back in the moment, and it's just one moment away. It's not like, okay, I'm going to be back in the moment in about 5 hours or in about five more breaths. No, it's right now. You just it's one moment away.
Mm.
So anyway, it's again, I teach the one breath in the TLC course as well. By the way, there's
Mhm.
more to it um, than. Do you remember when we did the ice baths together for the first time, Christina?
I do.
Were you
Yeah.
there? Yeah, you were
Yeah.
there. So this is a good story. Can we talk about
Mm.
this? Really, just
Yeah,
side.
sure. Yeah.
So I had a coaching group of, Christina was part of that, and
Mhm.
we ran a retreat. And I love running retreats, and I ran a retreat at a friend's venue, and she had saunas and ice baths, and I'd never done an ice bath up to that point, and most of the people hadn't done it. I think Jamie and Carl, they were two of the
Mhm.
guys who've done ice baths, and everyone else hadn't done it. It was like a new thing back then. So we got guided through
Mhm.
Hof breathing. Is it what's his
Yeah.
name? Hof.
Wim Hof.
Wim
Mhm.
Hof. That's it. I was thinking William Hof.
Mhm.
Wim Hof is, the Iceman guy. He
Mhm.
does the ice baths, and he takes people through breath work. So, uh, we had somebody guide us through, some Wim
Mhm.
Hof, breath work, and we were doing. We went through the breath work. It took like I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or so, and it got us
Mhm.
into the state before we jumped into the ice bath. Now the ice baths were pretty cold. They were like degrees. I think by the time we all went through it, it was like 6 degrees or 7 degrees. So it was pretty cold. It was a cold day too. I remember it was raining, and
Mhm.
these ice baths are
Oh,
all
yeah.
outside, so we're just
Mhm.
standing in the rain,
Mhm.
and one by one we got into the ice bath, and it was a very profound experience. I loved it. I enjoyed it,
Mhm.
and I think we did 3 minutes. Do you remember? It was a 3 minute ice bath. So
Mhm.
anyway, we did it. We all enjoyed it, and then the next day, my friend was like, "Do you guys want to use the ice bath today?" And I told everyone, "Let's go do it again." And I said, "Hey guys, but this time, let's use the one breath." This again, these guys were familiar with the one breath. I've been teaching it with them for many years. Christina knows it. So we all just did the one breath just before we jumped in. We just did the I'm there, I'm there, I'm
Mhm.
I'm, I'm here right now with that one breath. And I'll tell you how I came up with the one breath, maybe on a different day. But anyway, so we did it, and we jumped into the ice baths, and we we were able to tap into the same place that we were tapping into when we did the 10-15 minute
Yeah.
worth of breath work, didn't we? Like,
Yeah.
it was no different. Um, so, and for some of the guys in our group, they were really freaking out. Remember, it was like a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
I think you're brave, Christina. You're courageous.
I
You
was
you
having
were,
a bit of a process around it because I normally am not one to like to get into cold water. And so it was a very new thing for me, but it was like an immediate like mind over matter. Like if you stay really present, I was fine. And then, if you think it was about the breathing, because you got into this state from the breathing, it was like all it took the second day was that one breath again. And I was so present and it was the same thing. And it was
yeah,
just mind over matter.
yeah,
And if I started to think about how much time I had left, similar to like when you were running, like I would notice it would intensify, but it was just I kept breathing in the ice bath and kept staying right here. And it was not nearly as as intense as I thought it was gonna be, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But there were people having some big processes about it.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I remember having the thought of, oh, because I use the one breath in so many different areas of my life, and I'm like, oh, well, what if it doesn't work in this ice bath? What if I need to do those, repetitional breaths that we did in the Wim Hof ones? And I had that thought. I just was like, no, I'm gonna give it this a go. I want to see if the one breath can take me to the same place that the 50 breaths. I'm just guessing. It felt like we did about 50 breaths,
Yeah.
but
It was a lot.
yeah, and look, I'm not. It was a little experiment for us, It's just I
Yeah.
realized that with one breath, and I'll tell you really quickly the story of how I came up with this one breath, and it was because of my mother. Back in the day when I was 25-year-old CEO of my own company, and like I said earlier on in today's podcast, I used to be the intuitive one. But I never really knew how intuition works, where now I do, but yeah, well, not scientifically. Uh, I can talk more about where it comes from and what and how to ignite it and all that kind of stuff. But my mum used to say to me, because being the CEO of your own company at 25, 26, it was a lot of pressure. And my mum used to say to me, Amir, go to the office, because I was always the first one in the office. And I go, I want you to sit down in the office, and I just want you to take 3 deep breaths before you start your work.
Mhm.
And it's a game changer. Shouldn't use the word game changer, but that's the way I implied it. And I
Mhm.
thought, okay, I'm going to do that. So I rocked up to the office, 7 in the morning, no one's there. Sat in my office, and I'm like, again, that's one breath. And I took another one. That was two. So then I took another one for my third one, and I was like, I got nothing. I feel nothing. Like, I just couldn't drop into it. I mean,
Mhm.
me right now taking those 3 breaths, it was hard not to drop into, you
Mhm.
know? Like, every
Mhm.
breath I just took was taking me deeper. I was just really
Mhm.
finding a deep connection with myself. Uh,
Mhm.
but back then, I would do those 3 breaths, and I was just like, I got nothing, but I
Mhm.
persisted with it. I stayed with it, and now those 3 breaths have become one breath, and it changes your state. Just one breath, whatever you
Mhm.
use that can get you into the present moment, into the now, complete game changer, because the version of you that shows up in the now is a complete different version of you that shows up that is influenced from the past or the future. Very different version. One is a drop of the ocean, and the other one is the entire ocean in the drop. As Rumi says, he says, we're not the drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in the drop. So, but that's what it feels like. Every time I am in flow state when I'm speaking, coaching, it's not the same version that is there in the, you know, the
Mhm.
everyday stuff that I'm doing, thinking about past or future. Um, so yeah, some people say, well, you can't stay in the moment all the time, and sure, you go back and forth. I call it going from one to two, which is from oneness to duality. But you can choose to go back to one anytime you want to choose,
Mm,
and it starts with your choice. It
mm.
starts by you noticing that you're not present. Anyway, we've gone on almost like a different topic there, Christina. But yeah, that's how TLC came about.
Well, but it's all related, right? Because what you were just sharing is been your experience where you've gone and learned or realized and then did it and then taught it, and that's exactly what happened in the TLC program. It's like we are ultimately, and like it will be revealed very quickly if we have a different agenda, right? But ultimately I feel that the people that are part of that training program, they're there for themselves because they know that they want to live it, and that's ultimately then what will allow them to inspire other people and be able to, show up for other people as well. But it's really about themselves, like you say.
Yeah,
So, all of what you've just shared, I feel like ties in beautifully to all of that, and I guess, I mean, you've already kind of answered one of my other questions. I was going to ask you like what makes a great coach or a leader, but really it's like, I mean, if I were to answer that for you, tell me if you agree with this. It's like for you to be able to live it yourself, right? For you to
absolutely.
mm,
It's and and it's for you to be able to live it for yourself. If
mm,
that makes sense. What I mean by that is like you wanting to live it not to prove it to anyone else, but because you want to live it. You know,
mm,
I mean, and what does living it mean? It means that you have an ability, a very unique ability to be yourself, completely yourself, without an agenda to be another version of yourself that is seeking acceptance and approval from the external world. So
mm,
when someone has the ability to be completely themselves, they're living it. Because when someone has an ability to continuously bring themselves back into the now, well, you're
mm,
living it. Most people don't have that because most people are running on a program, and that program is designed to steer them away and avoid the now. When you are in the now and when you give yourself permission to be complete yourself, even if that means someone's going to reject you and someone might not love you and someone might judge you, you're
mm,
free. Or you have an ability to be yourself, and in that moment, you're, y- you're again, if I can call it, in flow state. The ideas that are coming to you are empowered. You're not looking, and they're coming for you. It's
mm,
not like I'm going to do this so then I can get more people to like me. I'm going to do this so I can get other people to approve of me. So yeah,
mm,
what I'm saying is you got to do this for yourself. Not do it in order to attain something. There's got to be no agenda. Love doesn't have a reason. Love's not like I will love you, um, because of this. I would love you if you do this. I would love you when I get this. There's no reason attached to love. So when you're being the greatest version of yourself, which is when you're being completely yourself, you are already in love, and you don't need to love yourself because you are in love. The now is a state of love. That's why people experience joy and experience this happiness, right? When they're completely in the now.
mm,
When you're not in the now and when you're not being completely yourself and you're looking for others' approval, you're looking for others to accept you, then you need to love yourself. But
mm,
when you're completely in the now, when you're completely being yourself, you feel light, you feel love. Why would love need to love itself? When you're in love, like when I say in love, I'm not talking about being in love with yourself, although that could be something as well. I mean, in a state of love. If you are in the moment, in the now, it's love.
Mm.
In that moment, you don't need to go, I love myself, I love myself, I accept myself. It's when you're not in that moment that you have to then try to find a way to love yourself. So it's a game changer.
Mm. Yeah, and you know, I feel like one of the things I really loved about this latest cohort and the other cohorts too, but I feel like we really got such deep experience of this in the latest one was the way that we practically got to experience what you're talking about, where we put ourselves in the hot seat essentially and did coaching sessions and watched ourselves back and let you watch and give us feedback. And it really just, I feel like, showed so much about like when you go in and out of that state that you're talking about. And it's like suddenly there's a camera on you or there's someone watching or that, you know, you've got something to prove. And it just really, you know, it's revealing and scary a bit, but it's also like so expanding to be able to like witness that and be able to then, you know, learn from that and see where you are falling into that instead of really just truly being yourself. And seeing then also seeing examples where you know people were in that space and seeing, well, you know, we see you do that, but then getting to see other people do that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that was
You know,
amazing.
I've already had people, and you probably know that, are already asking when's the next cohort starting. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I'm going to do something different now because we've been running this once a year pretty much. Like, and this
Mm-hmm.
year we kicked it off in January, and we just finished this year's one. I think it was last week was our last session, and we wrapped up. And I just want to say, how awesome is it to see someone in that 6 months just completely, like, there was people in there that I saw them do coaching sessions, and they were like scared of the camera, but they
Mm-hmm.
were absolutely smashed it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they were just and it's also really awesome to see people who have finished this course who are actually out there and actually doing this right now, and they're their own speaker and coach, and and it's awesome to see that. But what I was going to say was that, we've had people already ask me when's the next one, and I'm already going, oh well, the next one's not until next year. And people have been hearing how powerful it's been. And then I just thought, well, why don't we make it available so they can self-study the first 6 months? So that's what we've done. We've actually, if anyone is keen to actually look into it, they don't have to wait until the next cohort starts. You can actually kick off, and you get all the recordings. And then the second 6 months, you join in the live sessions, and be part of the other facilitators, other coaches who have completed the program. And I personally work with you one on one as well. Anyway, I don't want to go into a plug, but just, I guess, in case someone's interested, that they probably just go to the website. I don't want to.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I think that's good to share because you know, it hasn't been available like that before. And you know, the thing you were talking about just before you shared that, you were saying like getting to see the people out there in the world doing it. I was thinking about the people who are also not like traditional coaches that are bringing this into their workplaces and jobs, and it's like it's so cool to see. Like I'm even imagining like, you know, someone in like the medical system and like their bedside manner, or like their, you know, that's not someone we had in our cohort. We had people in, you know, but they were bringing it into more of like a traditional workplace and seeing like these amazing results from just the space they were able to hold now, as you know, compared to before they had done the program and the
Yeah,
work.
I mean, and we had a
Hmm.
guy that just finished the course,
Hmm.
and he doesn't want to become a coach. He's got a corporate job, if you like,
Hmm.
a business, and he's got a lot of people that work underneath him, and he's now running coaching sessions with his team.
Mm.
And I only heard about that last week, and I was like, he goes, "Oh yeah, I did 5 sessions last week." I'm like, "Oh, who did you do the 5 sessions with?" Thinking it's like, "Oh, well, these are team members, like these people, like
Yeah.
the staff." And I was just like, wow, awesome.
Mm,
You're right. You can apply it in so many different areas. I've got someone who's a what do you call it? A health coach, um,
like
help
nutrition and such,
nutrition
right?
coach,
Yeah. Hmm.
and she's now applying this, because again, yes, nutrition is all about what you put or what you don't put in your mouth, but there's a behind the scene
Hmm.
stuff. Yeah, sometimes you're like a program is running and you're like craving sugar, or there's other things going on behind the scenes,
Hmm.
that you need to change the program if you like. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to see people going out there and becoming coaches and sharing this work. But it's also great to see people do it in so many different fields, not just the coaching field. You know, yeah,
Well, Zogi, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I really enjoyed being part of the TLC program with you as well, and your
yeah,
facilitators program and all of the things. Yeah.
yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I think you've done the TLC course a few times because once someone does it, they can repeat it for free.
Hmm.
And by the way, you're someone who's now you're one of those people who's out there who's coaching and is building her own coaching business and having your own coaching clients. So just to give you a plug as well, in case someone's interested in getting coaching, you can always contact Christina at christinatindale.com. Is that your website?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
ChristinaTyndale.com. That's
Oh,
me. But yeah, so thanks for this today, and thanks for everyone who tuned in. And let us know if there's anything you want to hear on a future episode. You can email me at Christina@AmirZoghi.com. If you have questions or feedback, I'd love to hear from you.
awesome. Thanks, Christina. Thanks for holding the space and the questions. I'll see you next time.
See you on the next one.
See ya.